Hello YouTubers and welcome back to Go Figure Customs YouTube channel. Are you a customizer? Do you hate painting orange and yellow as much as I do? If the answer is yes to both of those questions, I've got a couple of solutions for you. First off, I'm gonna try and shoot the whole thing from start to finish. Don't know how that'll work. Instead of just like telling you how to do it, we're gonna actually show you how to do it. So let's see how that works. What we're gonna do is turn this, which is Marauder Task Force figure with a kit from AVAX Lab, into this, which is the vintage Nitro Viper, the driver for the detonator. And we're gonna do that start to finish. As you can see in that figure, aside from the gloves, the shoulders, and the torso, which are black, the rest of it is pretty much straight orange, which makes it a huge pain in the ass to paint. A couple caveats on that. I am going to be using an airbrush for this. Can you do it without an airbrush? That is going to be the first question everybody asks. The answer is, I don't know. I haven't tried. But it should still work. Definitely one of the tips and tricks to painting orange and yellow is using an airbrush. Orange and yellow coat like shit. That's why everybody hates to paint with those two colors, is because it doesn't matter what brand of paint that you use. It can be Games Workshop, it can be Army Painters, it can be Vallejo. Doesn't matter. Those two colors coat like crap and they are extremely difficult to use. What we're going to do first is primer this. I recommend primering anything that you're going to paint. What is primer? Primer is a aerosol that helps paint stick to a surface. That's what we want. We want paint that's going to stick to a surface. So that's why we use primer. I have several video tutorials on this channel about primer in and of itself. So if you haven't watched those, definitely take a look at those. I just noticed she's missing a knife. Let's stick a knife in there. So let's primer this first. We've got the figure primered. I use a gray primer. Again, I've talked about this on other videos, so we're gonna save some time here and not talk about the primer a lot. Primered the figure and the helmet because both of those are gonna use orange. The first thing we're gonna do is, since this is gonna be orange and black, we're gonna do the black first. And for the black, I want it pretty black, so I'm gonna use just black airbrush primer instead of paint. No particular reason other than it's really black. Okay, you can see that I've already done something similar on another figure here. This is a convention exclusive Saw Viper that my co-host JD gave me to customize. I'm doing it in black and yellow. He's gonna get a winged backpack and I'm gonna call him a Hornet Viper. But you can see that I'm doing the yellow and I'm doing the same technique that I did. I'm using the same technique that we're doing here. So it gets painted black first, then pink, then the orange. So let's do the black first. You know, the bell is orange on the figure. I want it black on mine. The one thing you will notice is I'm not being very careful about like coloring inside the lines, because I'm going to touch this up by hand after. So this is just to lay down like base coats. All right, I think that should about do it for the black. So we're gonna let that dry a little bit, and then we're gonna do the pink. Oh, let's do the helmet real quick. I almost forgot. Oh. If nothing else, you can see how quickly you can get something painted with an airbrush versus hand painting. To get that smooth of a coat in that much surface area probably would have taken me at least an hour, probably longer to do. But with the airbrush, it just took a couple of seconds. All right, we got the black done. So let's do the pink now. So that's gonna be the waist and most of the legs. Probably not the lower legs. Again, this is gonna look really sloppy, but we're just getting base coats down. So sloppy is fine. I'm gonna do the wrist guards here too. And then there was a spot on the chest. The part of the pauldrons are orange too. And I want coming off the figure stand. I need to pull off for a second off camera and make sure it's how I want it. All right, there we go. So it looks really horrible right now, but I've touched up. I haven't touched up anything. I've laid down the pink where I want the orange to be. So now we wait for that to dry. And once again, forgot the helmet. So let's do the helmet real quick. There we go. There's the helmet painted in pink. All right, so I'm not real happy with how the pink coated. I thinned it out pretty thin to get it to run through the airbrush a little better, and it didn't really coat that well. You can still kind of see the black underneath. So what I'm going to do is a second coat of pink real quick. I'm also going to put it on a different figure stand. If I had another tip and trick, it would be to use a figure stand every time you are painting so you don't have to touch your figure. The question that probably got asked and I did not answer is, what color pink am I using? I am using Army Painter's Fay Pink. The other question is, does it matter what pink you use for this particular task? And the answer is no, just a pink. So I used Airbrush Flow Improver with the pink to thin it out so it would run a bit smoother through the airbrush, but again, it gave us a real thin layer, and I want a thicker layer. So I'm just running the paint through the airbrush by itself without anything else. So let's do that real quick. You can hear that it's not running as smoothly through because it is thicker. All right, that's a little bit better. I missed a spot there. All right, that's a little bit better for the figure. The helmet did not get coated very well either. All right, there's the helmet and the figure painted in the pink. Now we'll do the orange. All right, time to do the orange. So what orange are we gonna use? I'm gonna use Army Painter War Paint Mythical Orange. So I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm gonna have to go get more paint. And I had to thin it out quite a bit to get it to go through the airbrush too. So but you can start to see how well the orange is coating now. Okay, this is really hard to do. Paint and be on camera at the same time. And talk through it. Alright, I'm just hitting, kind of touching up the orange where I want it. I am going to do another coat of a different orange over this as soon as this dries. I like how it looks, but the original figure is more neon, so I'm not gonna say I'm gonna try and replicate that, but I'm gonna get it more to look more like that. And my airbrush is clogging, which I figured it probably would, but that's fine. Oh, the helmet. I always keep forgetting to do the helmet. All right, with just a little work, you can really see how well that orange coated and how there's not any color, like the gray bleeding through. It's coated really well, and it's coated evenly. Yes, you can probably get these results by hand painting, but I got to tell you, airbrush is the way to go on this. It's worth the investment just to paint orange, white, and yellow. That first coat of orange has had enough time to dry that it's time to do the next coat. Again, I'm going to use a more neon color for the second coat, which is going to be, again, Army Paints War Paint Safety Orange. It is an airbrush color. The guys at the hobby store tell me that it's also black light reactive, so it should do some pretty cool things if you put it under the black light. I have a black light flashlight somewhere. I just don't know where it is. Okay, there's the figure. And let's do the helmet. I'm gonna look at the figure one more second here. Make sure there's not any areas that I want to hit again before we switch out. Okay. Oh, the handle. And the knife. Let's get that real quick. All right, there we go. That is the orange on the figure. All right, now if we look at the figure overall, it looks like shit. It looks horrible. It looks like it was colored by a 5-year-old because all the colors are kind of blended together. However, if we look at just the orange itself, the orange looks fantastic. It's coated very evenly, and there's no bleed through from the colors underneath, and the orange looks fantastic. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hand paint the black in. And I did say I was going to do this video start to finish. So what I think I'm going to try is we're going to try the time-lapse feature on the video, and I'm going to hand paint the black in, and then we'll finish off the figure. The helmet looks pretty good too. But first, it is 12 o'clock, which means my cards, my custom card backs, are done at the printers. So I'm going to run to the printer real quick and go get my cards, and probably grab some Crazy Bread from Little Caesars, because that's my excuse to go get Crazy Bread. So stay tuned for a few minutes, and we're going to do some time-lapse hand painting here in a minute. All right, we've got all the black painted, and now it's really starting to look pretty good. Hopefully that time lapse wasn't too boring. I think I need some like music to go over, to put over that. Some like yakety sax or something. So it's really starting to come together now. The downside is when you're touching up, when you're hand painting that black, and if you screw something up and need to touch up the orange, then you kind of gotta go through these steps all over again, just with hand painting instead of airbrushing, by covering up the black with the pink, then going over with the orange, and then going over with the other orange all over again. I've got a couple of spots that do need to be touched up. I will go back and do those shortly. But if you look at the original figure, you'll see that the three colors in the color scheme are orange, black, and then some silver. Oh wow, there's a broken backpack peg in this guy. I never even noticed that before. We will have to Dremel that out later. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is orange, black, and silver. Orange is done. Black is done. Now it's time for the silver. And then there's a grenade on the belt that's sculpted on. I'm going to do that in green, but we'll just do that as an aside later. Then we'll do the silver on the helmet, and then we'll see where we go from there. So we're going to try another time lapse of me doing silver instead of just So yeah, another time lapse with silver. Got the silver done. Now it's really starting to look like a Dominator, or a Dominator. Dominator's the vehicle that she drives. It's starting to look like a Nitro Viper. Got the pink drawing right now on where I need to touch up the orange. So we're going to do that next. And I have an unmasked head that I just primered. So I'm going to airbrush that here, probably just off camera. You don't need to see me do airbrushing on that. Then I almost forgot that I have the Repro. The kit came with her gun. It's already black. I will probably airbrush black primer on it to get it a flat coat, and then dry brush silver on it, and then do a wash on that. But again, probably not going to do that on this video. I will do a completed figure. We'll look at the completed figure when I'm done with it in this video. So stay tuned for that. There's some stuff that I'm just gonna do off camera. I almost forgot that she has a shoulder strap too, and I'm not sure where that went. I know it's here somewhere. It's probably on the floor. All right, well, I know I have the shoulder strap because I saw it this morning. Anyway, there's a shoulder strap here. It has to get painted orange. Okay, now it's gonna bother me. I'm just gonna sit here and look for it. Anyway, there's a shoulder strap. It needs to get painted orange. As soon as I find that, I'll paint it, primer it, paint it pink, paint it orange again, and then I'll attach it to the figure. And the helmet's pretty much done. I had to do a couple layers, thin layers of the silver. I would prefer to do that with the airbrush to get a nice even thin coat. But with the orange on there, I didn't want to have to touch up the orange because the airbrush would have definitely oversprayed on that. So there you go. That is the tips, tricks, and tutorial on how to paint orange more effectively. Does it save you any time? Yes and no. Because to get decent coverage with orange, you're gonna have to paint multiple coats of orange, and may not get good results to begin with. Whereas this, if you paint the pink and then paint the orange over it, you're going to get good results. So, and you may have to do multiple coats on each one of those, as we have seen in this particular video. Beyond that, I think that's about all I got for this particular one. So just stay tuned to see what the figure looks like all finished up. And here she is, all finished. So you guys see it pretty much start to finish on how to paint orange effectively. And it turned out pretty good. So that is the trick. Primer first, then whatever you want to paint orange, paint it pink first, then paint the orange over it, and may have to do multiple coats. I used a sealant after I got done finished. I used a sealant when I got done painting it to seal it off. Her unmasked head is here, and then helmet is here, and she came with the Repro version of her pistol. So we're gonna give that to her real quick. And then right about here, I'm gonna drop in pictures of that I'm gonna take to, because I always take fairly decent pictures of my customs when they're done. So I'm gonna drop some of those pictures in here real quick. And that's about it for this particular video. So as always, please do that fun social media stuff. Like, share, subscribe, comment below. And if you have suggestions for other tutorials, I'm all ears. Throw those in the comments below. And if you have any other little painting tricks that you know that you'd like to share, put those in the comments too. And as always, thanks for watching.